let's start from the new album that I have the possibility to hear a few days
Yeah.
ago for the first time. So my best
Ah,
compliments, because I really think this is one of your most interesting efforts as a solo in the last years. Then, if it's okay for you, we will also discuss your solo career of the past, because I would like to make some questions about it. And
sure.
so, 5 years have passed since Wired for Madness, if I remember correctly. And
Mm,
so, Permission to Fly will be out on the 6th of September, sorry.
yeah.
When, when did you start working on the tracks, on the songs for this album? For this album?
Oh, well, I guess almost a year ago or so I started. It was the time period right before we went into the studio to begin working on the new Dream Theater album,
Okay.
actually. Yeah.
And I think all the compositions started from you, I imagine. I know this time there is a band behind you. I've always appreciated the singers you chose for your solo albums. I remember very well Keep Winger in Rhythm of Time, and
Yeah.
but when I discovered that you chose Joe Payne for this album, I was really impressed, because I think he's one of the most underrated singers out there at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell me more about how this partnership started?
Sure. So, yeah, so I wrote all the music. It all came out of my head, so to speak. And my daughter, Ariana, wrote all the words, all the lyrics.
Mhm,
So we partnered to create the music and the lyrics.
mhm,
And then, of course, I had it in my mind that I really wanted to do an album that was not only the instrumental progressive side of what I do, but I also wanted to have a lot of vocal elements, a lot of vocal melodies and songs. So it was very important, maybe even a little bit more important on this album, to find someone who could sing all of it that I felt very comfortable with, that I thought would be a good addition to my musical style. So that was the challenge, if you will, is to find somebody who I thought could present my music in a way that I was really comfortable. I wanted to find a melodic singer, not somebody who was singing like Cookie Monster or, that kind of thing. So I had to do a little searching. Finally, one day, I spoke to Roy at Prague Report, and he told me he told me about this guy Joe Payne. He said, "Oh, Jordan, you should check out this singer Joe Payne. You might like his voice." And so I listened to it, and I thought, "Oh, it's a beautiful sound. What a great voice." So we Joe and I spoke a little bit on the phone, and we decided that I asked him if he wanted to sing on my solo album, and he said yes. And it was a great experience, because I just felt like his voice was very symbiotic with my musicality. Like, it was just, I felt like we had a really good combination of musical energy together. So that was great. And the other parts that were really nice was that Joe is a pretty knowledgeable musician, so I could send him my ideas, and then he could work with them and offer something himself instead of just kind of like trying to do exactly what I, laid out or asked for. He was able to come back and say, "Oh, how about this? I was feeling this," and give me some vocal arrangements or a little variation on the melody. So that was really welcome and great. And I think that what I loved about it is it became more than just me. It became like what I wanted, like almost like a band vibe. But yes, it's a Jordan Rudess album, of course, but there's some other energies going on as well that wouldn't normally come from just me as a individual. So that was great, and working with him was really a pleasure because he's a great guy.
I totally agree. This album sounds like a band album, and I totally agree with you from this point of view. Another track that impressed me a lot is the final track, Dreamer. This instrumental track which sounds cinematic, something like Ennio Morricone, since I'm in Italy, so I know his music quite well. So, can you tell me more about the genesis of this track in particular?
For sure. I actually performed that track when the whole Middle East crisis broke out. I was feeling a lot of emotions about this kind of turbulence and, all my friends over in that part of the world, and just thinking that I didn't know what to do, really. So very often I express myself, in a musical way, maybe more easily than in words. So I created that. I basically sat down and just played it. It wasn't even so much like quote unquote composed. It was based out of an improvisation. And then after I improvised it, then I orchestrated it a little bit more and, edited it a bit to get it exactly the way I wanted it. But it was pure, I have to say, it was a pure emotional kind of musical response to what was going on, at the time.
Okay. Let's go back at your career, if it's okay for you.
Sure.
I would like to show you some of the albums, your albums or albums that you were involved in the last 40 years. I've chosen them chronologically, and if it's okay for you, I would like to have a comment on them from you. Since
I won't even guarantee that I'll remember all the ones you're about to show me. So
I'm sure you will. Just one, maybe I have some doubt, but let's start from something easy.
Oh, well, that's easy. Wow. Yeah. So, so this was basically my first rock solo album. Very meaningful to me. I spent a bunch of time out in Phoenix, Arizona, at the producer's studio. He had a whole bunch of great keyboards like Memory Moogs and Matrix 12 Oberheim machines and, I don't know, original Roland sampling stuff. It was a big party, like a big keyboard party. It was funny because the first track I did, I don't remember which was actually the first one, but the first one that I did there, I remember using a little bit of everything in the room, all the different keyboards. And then eventually, as I was working in there, I became more and more kind of like narrow in terms of I knew that this keyboard would work and, do the job. And I stopped being so like experimental and I just kind of got the job done. But yeah, I was very inspired. I worked with Ken Mary, who went on to have a career with, playing drums with Alice Cooper, and a wonderful singer at the time, Barbara Bach, bass player. Honestly, I'm spacing out a little bit on the name, but you could tell me because you've got the CD in front of you. But yeah, right.
Let me open it.
Sure. Open it up. Check it out.
Bass guitar, Gene Simmons.
Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. And Gene Simmons went on to play with Kiss.
Okay. Another easy one.
Oh, well, it's nice. So, yeah, this was such a nice thing, and to be able to do an album with John on that level. It was kind of half composed and half improvised. Which was a really nice format, almost like a jazz format, right? And it was nice for us to have, we do a lot of the writing of the music of Dream Theater together as well, but this was a really different format and a chance to kind of break away from, the usual format that we do, and just an enjoyable process. Maybe one day we'll do another one like that.
Who knows?
Who knows?
This is probably my favorite of your solo albums.
Oh, Explorations?
Yes.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
can you tell me about this?
Well, originally Explorations was a piece that I wrote because I was um, commissioned to write it for the Venezuelan youth orchestras. They have that in Venezuela. They have the I forget what the name of it is, but they have this system where they bring young people together to play in orchestras, and it's a very big system there. They
Okay.
take some people maybe that have kids that are having trouble, whatever, and they make them interested in music, and they bring them and they train them, and they become part of these orchestras. So I wrote this piece and actually premiered it in Venezuela many years ago. And I had Aaron Boschbu, who was the conductor at the time, and also who went on to do some work with Dream Theater. After that, he came to Venezuela, and we actually did a performance of this piece. Of course, I found out that the music I wrote was a little bit difficult for the youth orchestra, so it was kind of intense. Um, and then after that, I wanted to figure out how to get this recorded. So I ended up recording that album in Poland with a very nice group of musicians. And so I went and spent some time actually in Poland with the orchestra, and it was a great experience. And there it is. That's the music. So musically speaking, it was a chance for me to really combine my rock kind of progressive sensibility with a lot of my classical influences. So I viewed it as kind of like a progressive rock meets like Prokofiev or Bartok or kind of Rachmaninoff, but like all the different things that are floating through my brain and my fingers to have a chance to express it, in one place.
Fine. Please don't cry now, but I would like to have a comment from you also about this.
Oh, that's the Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So
The
I guess I
tribute concert.
participated.
The tribute concert for Keith Emerson, where you played.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Right. Okay. So of course, Keith Emerson is my biggest keyboard hero. I mean, there's a lot of people who have influenced me, a lot of wonderful musicians, some of them turned friends, in my life. But Keith Emerson is probably the guy who was instrumental in showing me through his music a way forward, because his music came to me when I was 17 years old, and I had been studying at Juilliard classical music, and I was always an improviser. I could always play different styles, but my focus really was classical music up until then. And I heard Tarkus for the first time, and I couldn't stop listening to it because I was like, oh my God, this is so incredible, the power that you can have with a keyboard, just the feeling, and playing keyboards. So it was mind blowing to me. So, any chance I get to like celebrate his life and his music, I'm appreciative of that, and I enjoy that. And of course, when you listen to Permission to Fly, my latest album, I don't hold back from putting in some Emerson-like things because I love that. And again, my main kind of like rock keyboard musical influence. So I think that spirit should be kept alive, and I feel a little bit of responsibility to kind of keep that going.
I agree. Last one. This I really didn't expect. Jordan playing Moroder. Do you know about this album or not?
Jordan playing what? What is it?
Giorgio Moroder,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I did that with
Cleopatra,
Cleopatra Records, The
Cleopatra Records.
Chase or something like that. Is that what I
Exactly,
played?
exactly.
Yeah.
Chase by Giorgio Moroder. It was a bit weird to.
Yeah. I'd be I can't even remember what I played on that at this moment.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't, but I've done a lot of different projects with Cleopatra Records.
Yeah.
Always interesting to do those. Like there's a bunch of things that I've done over the years, and I do remember doing it. I can't remember the sound of it, quite honestly. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let's
Okay.
let's move on. I have lots of albums more, but let's move on.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, I wrote a book here in Italy about rock history from the point of view of keyboard players and keyboard-driven genres, which basically starts from ragtime, to give you an idea, until synthwave, dark synth, this kind of keyboard-driven genres. And in my analysis, the keyboard hero, let's say, starts with Scott Joplin, let's say, and ends with you, because you are maybe you are the last musician I discuss within this book. In your view, who are the next generation's keyboard players we have to keep an eye on? I know that also 𝗥𝗨𝗗𝗀𝗀𝗧 worked on your last album, which is a guy which I think is quite interesting to follow, but I would like to have your opinion about this.
Oh, well, it's an interesting question, because there's not that many guys out there that, keep this going. And Gerald is certainly very, very talented keyboard player and does some great stuff with technology. So that's amazing. Maybe my friend Joey Izzo from 𝗥𝗨𝗃𝗃 is so talented and playing some great stuff. And I'm thinking of his last name, but Rohan in Sweden. I've got to get you his last name. I can't think of it. Is always very impressive too. Okay. I don't know. I can't really think of anybody else. But yeah, for people who don't know Joey's playing, or even 𝗥𝗨𝗃𝗃, you got to check it out because he's really great.
Okay, fine. Another interesting aspect of your career is, I think, that you dedicated a lot of time to teaching. So you have been involved in lots of different books and different also online platforms. I know that you have made courses on Music Play, and now you have a new course on Pianote, if I'm right. So that's another really important aspect of music creating, I think. So when did you start teaching, and what is your approach when you deal with such projects?
Yeah, I love to share and to teach, because I think it's so interesting the way that the mind works when organizing music. If I think about, for instance, how I improvise, and just like what it takes to be able to do that, it's something that is fascinating, because some people, as if you think about improvisation, can't do it at all. They have a block against it. But I'm fascinated with thinking about what makes that happen. Like what kind of musical ideas, or what kind of spirit, or what kind of approach is being organized to be able to do this. So I enjoy sharing, anything that I've learned, whether it's that kind of thing, whether improvising, or even if it's just purely technical, like at the keyboard, let's say, because I feel like in my musical life, I was very, very lucky to have some of the greatest piano, coming from the greatest piano teachers of the last century. I went to Juilliard, and my teacher was the assistant to Rosina Levine, who was the wife of Joseph Levine, who was, of course, one of the great pianists, coming out of the, 1900s. And Rosina Levine was probably the most respected piano teacher of the last 100 years. And my teacher was the assistant. So I feel almost a little bit of a responsibility to share with people, what I learned, because it's valuable. And especially because the technique that I learned, it seems, is a little bit different than some of the ways that people taught piano in, over the last many years. For instance, a lot of times people say, oh, your wrist, it looks like it's down a little bit or whatever. And I'm like, because their teacher might have said, keep your wrist up or above the keys. And I'm always like, okay, well, this is something really important to talk about. because the most important thing to have is a very flexible wrist that's moving and not stuck in any position, and also very strong fingers that will allow you to relax your wrist. It's a whole, like, it's a formula. And if you look at like somebody like Vladimir Horowitz play, you'll see that he comes from a similar kind of school of thought. Maybe it's almost like a Russian pedagogy, like it's just a different lineage. So I've been teaching, basically my whole life as a professional musician. I've also been teaching, and not only just like keyboard things, but I also, as you know, I'm involved with a lot of technology, music technology.
This was another question.
Yeah, and I got involved years ago as a product specialist before my music career really took off, kind of like, working for Korg and Kurzweil. And I would go and I would help people to understand how to work the various keyboards and instruct them and teach them and do clinics. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, I just put out a course with Pianote that their parent company is called Musora. And it's a wonderful company, and they do great stuff. I'm really pleased with the course. It's a very unique way to learn, also because it's the structure where you kind of take a lesson every day. They have it in a format where you take a lesson every day for a certain amount of time, and we kind of work together. So it's very different. It's a very inspiring way, I think, to learn piano in this case, and to learn some things that that I do specifically. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, it's always been a big part of my life, and will continue to be.
Fine. You mentioned technology, and this was another question. Since I know that you have worked and you're working with lots of Italian companies in the past and maybe also in the present. For sure, you work with Studio Logic, with IK Multimedia, and now with audio modeling. I know. I think there is also a trumpet from audio modeling in your album, if I understand.
You're right. Correctly. Good work. Good work.
It worked. I listened to it. This is audio modeling. So, what are you working on at the moment, if I can ask you?
Sure. So, So first of all, yes, I have a very nice working relationship with some, of the Italian folks doing wonderful music technology and audio modeling. It's a great company. And not only working with audio modeling and using their software and, and helping to spread the word about that, but also in my own company, I work with the audio modeling guys and license some of their sounds to put inside my app, which is called GeoShred. And GeoShred is, for those of you who don't know, it's an application that runs on, at the moment, on iOS technology. So iPad, iPhone, that kind of thing. And it's a very unique kind of musical instrument, especially when you combine it with the audio modeling type sounds and some of the physical models that we develop in-house as well. And that's also coming out on desktop soon. So we'll be able, anybody who has a computer system with their workstation or whatever, will be able to run GeoShred on their desktop as well, which will open up whole new, all new possibilities for people. So at the moment, I'm working on some different things. Number one is I've had a residency at MIT and the Media Labs for the past year, and in September I'm going to be doing what we're calling a work in progress performance, where we're showing the result of some of the technology that we've been developing. And this involves a kind of an AI music experimentation, something very, very custom to the Jordan kind of world, which people will find out a lot more about as, at the presentation. Wow. But basically, in a summary of it, it's, I look at all the stuff going on with AI and music, and I think it's really, really cool. But the problem I have with some of it is that they're not thinking in a way to make it kind of like interactive, to make it responsive to what the person is doing. So that's really the field that we're going into, like not only having AI generating music and sound, but how does it respond to what I do musically? So kind of like this, think of it as this interwoven process where the AI is trained on my musical information in my mind, and then it becomes this kind of amazing human machine connection where we kind of accelerate the whole process.
You anticipated another question, which is about AI. If my question was if you as a musician feared in some way AI.
Yeah, so well, let me first say this is kind of a segue into that. One of the companies that I work with very closely is called Moises. It's Moises. I don't know if you've heard of them, but Moises AI. So it's a very interesting company. They're mostly known for their work in track separation, and musicians all around the world use it because basically the way that it works is that you can upload to their system a stereo audio file or even a video, and then when it's within their system, the system can take it apart. So let's say you upload a Dream Theater song, and then when it comes back to you, you can decide, I want to have the vocals, the piano, the bass, the drums, the lead guitar, the acoustic guitar. You can separate it. It's like having access to all the individual tracks. It's kind of a modern day musical miracle, really, the way that it works. And there's some different companies that work in track separation, but Moises is pretty much the top of the game.
I agree.
It's incredible. But not only that, so after they kind of put their track separation out into the world, then they started to develop the system even further to the point where now it does things like, well, first of all, pitch and time are completely flexible. You can have things playing back at different pitches, but maintain the tempo of the music. But it also has gotten really good at showing you the chords exactly on the beat where they fall in the music, and it's getting very accurate as well, which is really great. Plus the idea or the implementation of being able to separate the sections of the music. So somebody who's learning a piece can say, I just want to hear the verse, and loop the verse, maybe the verse into the bridge, and connect those two and loop them seamlessly. So the reason I bring them up is because I love the technology, but also because all the musicians around the world that use this, some of them have this idea that AI is a bad thing, but they don't even know that Moises is built on AI. This is the technology that is the framework for everything that Moises does. I'm sorry to be the bringer of bad news to somebody who's against AI, but now learning a piece of music using it. So AI is, first of all, I believe more and more that artificial intelligence is a very bad name for this technology. There's a lot of other ways to think about it. There's nothing really artificial about it. It's we should go back in time really and change that. It's leading people down the wrong thought process to think about what's actually going on with the tool and how these things are put together. Okay, all that said, there's a lot of concern in the music business from people about their rights, how like these models have been instructed or loaded in with different, songs and styles, and rightly so. Musicians are concerned. They feel like, this is not maybe fair. Maybe their music is being loaded into a computer without their permission. All these kind of things are really, really important to figure out. This is all, legal matters which need to be resolved, in a big way to make people more comfortable.
It will take time.
It's going to take time, and it's not. And honestly, even though I'm aware, sympathetic, and also concerned, this is not my specialty. That kind of thing. My specialty is in thinking, okay, well, you have this new technology. How can we use it to make more expressive instruments? How can we use it to have more musical fun? How can we engage more people into the beauty of making music themselves? And how can I use it to just kind of like extend what I do in the musical world and do things that have never been possible before, and also be one of the people who kind of helps to steer it in directions that are most valuable to to the future of music and music technology. So that's really important to me. That's one of the reasons I'm really excited about the work that I'm doing with MIT, because they have some beautiful minds there that are thinking in positive ways about how you can take this technology, the technology that's available to us today, and do like amazing, beneficial, cool, important, educational, entertaining things with it. So that's it.
Okay. I ask you, how much time do we still have? Just to know.
Luckily I'm pretty flexible this morning, so we're okay. Don't
Okay,
worry.
just one last question. I don't want to bother you with too many questions. Let's
Okay.
stay onto technology. You are one of the last players, I would say, according to what I know, that still use workstations on stage. Because nowadays on stage you see lots of laptops, lots of master keyboards, and so on and so forth. Did you notice in the last few months, years, keyboards which are really game changers, let's say, as was, I don't know, the Key 2700 or the Oasis years and years ago? Your opinion
Yeah,
about it?
good question. um, yeah, it's funny for me, being the person that I am, having the classical background and then going into progressive rock and having the keyboard technique and just a combination of everything that interests me, and feeling how important a great workstation keyboard is to my life. Like the Korg Kronos has been a great friend to me for a while now. So critical to everything that I do. I mean, when I go out with Dream Theater, 97% of what I do is on the Korg Kronos as a standalone, because it's a workhorse, powerful mothership with all the different kinds of synthesis built in, and it's great. And in the old days, I would use, the Kurzweil technology. I think I started the life with Dream Theater 25 years ago using a K2500 keyboard, then K2600, then the Oasis, then the Kronos. And so, yeah, from my perspective, this kind of instrument is like, it should be developed and brought to the next level. But in the world that we live in, kind of sadly, as you just said, you don't see it a lot. You don't see these instruments a lot. You see more people with little controllers or doing other things, or it's funny. But that said, there's still some people, but you do see people playing 88 note keyboards still. I mean, even if it's in a pop band or a jazz band or different ways, maybe not using it the way I use it necessarily. But like Yamaha, I know, has come up with some wonderful new keyboards. Their
The new
new
montage.
series, yeah, the montage is beautiful. Kind of cutting edge, new thinking. I've had some demonstrations of that instrument, and I think, wow, okay, so people are really thinking about the future of what a workstation could be and how the technology could be. And I think, Korg is going to continue, hopefully, thinking about this kind of stuff as well. But yeah, I'm interested that you brought that up, because, hey, it's something also that I think about, like, wow, the world around me is,
Changing.
is changing. We can't control, everything. Just because something is important to me in my space, it doesn't mean that there's a lot of other factors that are, playing into the
Exactly.
global bigger picture of things.
Okay. So Jordan, what can I say? Thank you very much. It was really an honor to meet you finally.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, you got to send me your book.
Oh, for sure. It's in Italian only, but I'm sure there will be some AI app to translate it in English. So I will be glad to send it to you for sure. I
That
will.
would be amazing. And my daughter will be able to read it to me because she's fluent in Italian.
Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah.
So
And my wife is also learning Italian very quickly. So she's been studying very hard. So I have a lot of people around in my family, and of course my wonderful friends that can explain to me, what it says.
I can help you too if it's needed. Feel free to ask.
That's fine. Do you know how to get in touch with me?
I will. I can ask Niels eventually, the guy who
Yeah, yeah.
organized the meeting. So
Can I put the information? I'll put my contact in the chat area. How about
okay.
that?
Thank you
Let
very
me
much.
do that right now. Sure.
Thank you very much. All the best and good luck for all your future plans.
Okay, Gabriel. Take care, my friend.
Bye.
Bye
Thank
now.
you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
See you.